thank you everyone for joining us, and good morning. This is the second of the Success Network's webinar series. I'm Edith Juguna and I'm the Network Director. And today's webinar is on supporting and scaling post-secondary readiness through stakeholder engagement and continuous improvement. We're fortunate to have a group of presenters with deep expertise on this topic, and I will kick it to them shortly. I want to let you know that we are recording the session and we'll share the recording with you, and there'll be time for Q&A at the end of the presentation. And now I'll kick it to you, Renee.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Edith. Thank you, Success Network, for letting us present today on the amazing work that's happening in North Chicago School District up in Northern Illinois. So we're going to just start by introducing ourselves. My name is Renee. I work for OneGoal, and we are a nonprofit organization based out of Chicago, and we'll introduce the work that we do as well today. So let me, get my slide going. I'm going to pass it over to Milissa, and then Mary and Kim will also introduce themselves.
Good morning, everyone. Great to be with you. My name is Milissa McClaire. I am a managing director with OneGoal. I work very closely with our team of post-secondary leadership coaches, who are the folks who are doing the work that Renee is going to describe all across the state.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mary Kenney. I am currently the junior counselor at North Chicago Community High School. I work closely with Kim. Obviously, she's going to introduce herself on the post-secondary leadership team at the high school, which is something that we'll talk a lot about today.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kim Forystek. I'm currently the senior counselor at North Chicago Community High School, and I'm also the coordinator of the post-secondary leadership team, which Mary referenced, and we'll be talking about a lot today.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So we are going to jump into, I'm going to pass it over to Milissa again to talk about what OneGoal does and who we are and why we engage in this work.
Great. Thanks, Renee. As we get started, I'm just really curious, and folks can use the chat or just drop an emoji, if you have any prior experience or knowledge of OneGoal, if you've heard of OneGoal before or have any connection to our programming in the past. You want to just indicate that for us. But as Renee shared, OneGoal was founded in Chicago. We are now a nationwide organization over 15 years ago. And the work that we are most widely known for is our direct impact work to students. And so you see that kind of at the top half of the slide. And that work is working directly with students and teachers around post-secondary success. So we have an elective course that partners have implemented over 15 years, exploring all the things you'd expect to see in that space: fit and match, financial literacy, college recommendations, career exploration. We had a lot of success in that space and continue to do that work. Several years ago, we launched into systems level work. So after having success at the school level, really thinking about what needs to be true at the district level, and how do we build capacity of the adults who are supporting students, whether that be counselors, school leaders, teacher leaders, and ultimately district level staff. And so we launched what we call the OneGoal Leadership Network, working with teams all across the state of Illinois, as well as Kentucky, Michigan, Wisconsin. We're growing, but we're really excited to share with you today about the work that we're doing close to home. So the post-secondary leadership work is really anchored in a rubric that OneGoal developed with lots of partners in the post-secondary and student support space. And that post-secondary readiness rubric includes 7 focus areas. This is really kind of the foundation of our partnerships, as it provides shared language around what we mean when we say post-secondary readiness or when we're looking toward post-secondary success. So all of our partners, very early in our partnership together, engage in a self-assessment along these 7 focus areas. There's a set of indicators that align with each focus area, and that really helps determine the focus of the partnership and where folks would like to dig in. And so when Renee and team take over, they're going to share a little bit about their engagement with this tool. The Leadership Network is intended to be a 3-year partnership. And so this slide just kind of outlines the components. And so I just wanted to ground us in that so that when you hear about the amazing work of the North Chicago team, you can kind of see where those components are coming to life. We really are beginning with assessments along that readiness rubric, as well as other data that we are collecting that's locally available around student persistence, historical trends that we might see with regard to post-secondary data that's publicly available and data that might be being kept by a school team. We use that information to develop alongside a district team, a coaching plan that's really responsive to their context. And then there's ongoing one-on-one coaching. And so in this, the case we're digging into today, Renee is the coach that supports the North Chicago team. And the final component of our program is cross-district community of practice. So we bring together districts from across the state to be with role-alike peers and learn about how other people are grappling with the same post-secondary issues. Through this partnership, we are working toward both immediate and long-term impacts. So we're looking to develop, in some cases, a shared vision and plan. We're thinking about how we are aligning resources and talent. We want to act on real-time data. And we want to really dig into post-secondary advising and how that might be embedded in the school day. We're ultimately looking for equitable student enrollment in those acceleration courses, and then thinking about those system level benefits, the long-term outcomes for students that we might see as a result of work at the leadership level. If you are curious about the rubric, it is available on our website. So if you are interested in seeing those 7 focus areas with the different performance levels and indicators, you can just snap this QR code and it'll take you to a form to download the rubric. So if that's of interest to anyone, we wanted to make sure to have that available to you.
We'll wait about 10 seconds just in case people are pulling out their phones.
All right, and just to ground us in the work we're doing today, these are our districts for the 23-24 school year. So you can see we're kind of spread across the state, currently working with 20 districts in Illinois. And so Stephanie's asking if we can go back to the QR slide. Thanks, Juan Jose. Somebody's on it. So we got it in there. Appreciate that.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you, Milissa, for grounding us in the work that you are about to hear about. What we are going to do next is kind of talk about what it is we're going to touch on today, and ideally what takeaways you're going to have after this webinar. And we're going to introduce some planning tools and some ideas about planning for stakeholder engagement in your own organizations or institutions. So to just as an overview of what the objectives are for the webinar today, ideally at the end of this, you'll understand how you can plan for different types of stakeholder engagement while you are establishing your own continuous cycles of improvement, or maybe you are already established in how to integrate your stakeholder engagement planning into continuous cycles of improvement. Through that lens, we're going to look at the work that we've been doing at North Chicago and the stakeholder engagement successes and work that's been done with the post-secondary leadership team here. So to begin with, thinking about stakeholders and post-secondary work, there is a wide array of who we might consider as stakeholders and as partners. Here is a small list. There might even arguably be many more that you can think of in terms of who you really want to engage to ensure that your students are accessing their post-secondary opportunities. So that being said, I'd like to hear from you all briefly in the chat. Some of you already dropped your roles, so that's fantastic. If you haven't yet, think about in your work with post-secondary readiness and engagement, what stakeholders are most integral to you? And that could be a snapshot of where you are in the process. That could be a partner that you feel very strongly about. But take a moment, if you wouldn't mind, and share what stakeholders are integral, or who would you like to better engage in your post-secondary work? And I will share while people are thinking and typing. We will focus when we get into the North Chicago work in a bit. We are going to focus on 3 stakeholder groups, specifically faculty and staff, community organizations, and institutional partners. And obviously there are a lot of other stakeholders just involved in it with those 3 groups in itself. But that'll just kind of give you a preview of who we will be looking at. And I see some answers. Thank you. Virginia, youth leadership development programs. Absolutely. Students. Yes. School districts. We have Jeff coming in from North Chicago, different companies in Lake County, secondary and post-secondary faculty and administrators. Fantastic. And Paige as well, sharing nonprofit organizations, technology equipment providers. Fantastic. Thank you all for giving us a glimpse into the work that you are doing right now with stakeholders. Before we begin, I want to ground us in some basic ideas about planning for different types of stakeholder engagement. And this is how we're going to give you some tools as well to organize your stakeholder engagement in this way. And what you're looking at here, you can see in this diagram, it's a little bit cyclical. It's also numbered in a hierarchy. And so you can kind of think of stakeholder engagement in both of those ways. You are going to be engaging with stakeholders in a cycle, ideally within your continuous cycles of improvement, while you're working with them on maybe a project, or you're working with them on maybe even some long-term aims. However, when you are initially engaging a stakeholder, you want to think about scaling up that level of engagement. So for example, on number 1, inform. If you are going to launch, for example, some of the work that we're doing in Illinois State, like the PACE framework, implementing the PACE framework in your district, which is one of the pieces of work North Chicago is going to touch on. In order to engage your students in getting their insights and their ideas about what is most important to them in their post-secondary opportunities, you first need to inform them. They need to know what the PACE is and what the purpose of it is. They need to understand why you are asking for their opinion. So that initial step of informing is going to be foundational to all of the work that you do with stakeholders. At that point, once they have an understanding of why you are engaging them, you can consult. And when you are consulting them, you're getting feedback, perspectives, ideas from that stakeholder group. They're giving you insight and perspective that you didn't necessarily have, because that is not the area that you are coming from in approaching the work. When we are then moving to involving the stakeholder groups, that is at another level, scaling up our stakeholder engagement. This is when the stakeholders are actually engaged and involved in the planning processes and the implementation processes. Lastly, the ideal level of engagement is collaboration, where your stakeholder group is a partner in the work. They are helping you make decisions. They are formulating solutions with you together in this work. So that being said, do have a tool for you to come back to in this slide deck. So here is an idea of an easy way for you with your groups, whether it's a post-secondary leadership team, or it's an administration team, or it's a PLC, or an ILT. You can think about how you want to engage the relevant stakeholders to your aims and your short-term, medium-term, long-term goals. Some key points here to consider when you're approaching this process. The name and the group of the stakeholders, you see here that this is much more specific than just saying faculty and staff or school administration. That is because if you are trying to engage a superintendent in this work, that is going to look and sound and feel different than if you are engaging an entire school leadership team. So take that into account, be as specific as you can. And in addition, relationship owner is very important. That is going to be the person on your team who is that holding that relationship front and center. They're the key communicators back and forth, and they're the ones that are helping really create those connections. With that information, here's another resource for you to utilize in this work and thinking about your own planning. So this is an example of those different types of engagement levels, specifically thinking about applied to engaging a group for your school improvement planning. So what this template does here is breaks down at each level, at each different type of engagement, what the participation goal is for that stakeholder group at that level, what you as the leader of this and the person trying to create this engagement, what you are promising to those stakeholders, how they're going to engage, and then the insight that they will be gleaning from the process as well. So this is just a great reference to look back on when you're thinking about what are your overall aims, what are your ideas and your goals for how you want to engage a particular stakeholder group in this work. That being said, we're going to move into our work with North Chicago at this point. And this is kind of grounding us. We're going to organize the stakeholder engagement work that we're going to share with you in these 4 categories. So you can now have an idea of what this looks like in application. Before we get into that particular work, I'm going to set the groundwork for you to understand the continuous improvement work that we established when we partnered with North Chicago School District, and we came together to form our post-secondary leadership team. So I am going to actually ask Mary and Kim to jump in here so that they can take a moment and introduce you to their amazing school district and the different student demographics that are comprise it, and touch base a little bit on who the post-secondary leadership team is here at North Chicago.
All right, hi everyone. So again, I'm Mary Kenney, and I want to give you a little bit of background information about our school district so you can have an idea of the population that we're working with, the number of students that we're working with. This is data that was pulled from the school report card, so it isn't 100% accurate, but for the most part it is. So we're located, I think a lot of people think that we are in Chicago, the city of Chicago, but we're actually not. We're a suburb of Chicago. We're about 40 miles north of Chicago. Our population is almost 31,000 student population. So we're a consolidated school district. We have about 3,400 students total. We have 1 early childhood center, 3 elementary schools, 1 middle school, and 1 high school. Looking at the demographic, we are 99% low income, 42% Hispanic, 31% Black, and 18.2% white, which is where I think that this may be a bit inaccurate because I think that number is quite lower than that. And then 14% of students with IEPs. Our 2023 graduation rate was 88%, which in the slides coming up, you'll see that that has increased significantly over the past couple of years with all of the work that we have been doing.
And then Renee had mentioned that we're going to talk more about our post-secondary leadership team. And to remind you, I'm Kim, I'm the coordinator of that group, but we also work with, it's our entire college and career department. So our navigators, the counseling department, and then Jeff Hollenstein, who's actually on this call right now, who is our work study coordinator, and he is our first OneGoal seminar teacher. So we come together on a regular basis to make a lot of the decisions that we're going to be talking about today.
Fantastic. Thank you both for that introduction. So once the post-secondary leadership team and the partnership was initially established, the idea, let me just take a step back, the idea of the post-secondary leadership team is to de-silo the post-secondary work that happens within a district, something that Milissa touched on in the beginning of the presentation. So oftentimes it falls on just the counseling team to ensure that students are on some sort of post-secondary pathway. But really, if you think about it, all of the work we are doing in school systems is for students to achieve their post-secondary goals. So all of the work we're doing is post-secondary. So we're really trying to bring together different parts of the district and different pieces of the building, people with different perspectives, different stakeholders, to understand the full picture, the full landscape of post-secondary readiness within a district in order to identify gaps and successes and areas of focus. So that being said, what was it that North Chicago wanted to accomplish when they approached us about a partnership and working with myself as the post-secondary leadership coach? Specifically, and I'm sure anyone in Illinois right now in a school district can relate. Excuse me. So establishing or meeting the ISB initiatives under the PWR Act, planning and implementing the PACE framework was big on their minds, as well as establishing the 3 college and career pathway endorsements, and doing that well before the ISB mandated deadline to really increase what they were already offering here at North Chicago. And then lastly, based on their school improvement plan, which we'll take a look at shortly, improving specifically the freshman on track and the graduation rates for the students. So once that's determined, we dive into identifying what are the primary drivers. So what are the factors that are really going to impact this work? That could be the areas that are already working really well. That could be areas that need gaps that need focus improvement efforts. So we use the post-secondary readiness rubric assessment for this part. And based on the team's formative assessment of their post-secondary landscape, here are the results of that formative assessment. And so you can see on the left those 7 focus areas. And if you were able to download the rubric, you'll see that each of these focus areas have specific indicator benchmarks. And what the team does is they assess themselves on those, based on those benchmarks, as either beginning, practicing, or persisting. So based on this formative assessment, we realize the main drivers for this work are going to be related to post-secondary data systems and structures, adult capacity building, and then institutional partners. So from that point, we're going to kind of skip over a number of months of work of really digging into the landscape of North Chicago. And again, the different areas, those 3 rubric focus areas, what's going well, what needs improvement. And based on that work, we were able to also identify what is happening with stakeholder engagement, what's working well, what needs to improve. So based on those landscape analysis meetings that we had, we came up with a number of findings regarding stakeholder engagement. First of all, the district is doing a fantastic job of maintaining long-established and strong relationships with different community organizations, which you're going to see an example of shortly. In addition to that, there is a long-established foundation of work-based learning and work-based learning opportunities. Kim mentioned Jeff on the call in our audience here, and Jeff, I believe, has been working at North Chicago upwards of 20 years. If you want to drop that in the chat, no pressure, Jeff. But he has been integral to their work-based learning efforts. But in the meantime, since shifting initiatives over the past years, COVID, those partnerships can improve, they can grow. So there was an opportunity recognized there. And then lastly, our third stakeholder group that we're going to focus on today is the faculty. And overall takeaways that the faculty was feeling overwhelmed with the shifting focuses and initiatives coming out of COVID and readapting to what life is like. And so therefore, feeling unaware or not well-versed on what the post-secondary opportunities are within the district. From that point, we are then looking at, okay, what are our big levers here? What can we impact? What are our aims to impact these opportunities and these gaps? And specifically, how can we measure our impact on these things? So our next step was thinking about what success looks like and how we can measure our progress along the way, which is a very important foundational piece of that continuous improvement planning, so that you can always check and see, okay, are our strategies working? Why or why not? What are our efforts really doing in terms of creating success for our students? I have, and you'll be able to access these, I believe, as well, but I have linked here. Part of that work was aligning the school improvement plan with the post-secondary leadership team's aims and goals. And so you can see that process. We really dug into what does this look like? What does success look like in these areas if we are creating an impact, a positive impact? And then on the second document, you can see where we align our own goals with the school improvement plan goals, and those particular metrics being related to graduation and freshmen on track, as well as ensuring that all students have a post-secondary plan. In addition, we looked at statistics such as enrollment. So using the Success Network dashboard here, you can see, and this data comes from NSC, National Student Clearinghouse, and we know we only have access to that info through 2021, but that is about to be updated. So you can see the enrollment trends here for North Chicago, based over the last few years, only up until 2021, with decreasing enrollment. Okay, rounding out, sorry about that. Rounding out the work now, bringing us to kind of the springboard for actually the implementation and the processes, integrating the processes into the systems and structures here at the district. We defined our measurable goals, which you see on the left here. On the right, these are specific priorities that we defined for stakeholder engagement. Obviously, you can kind of get a picture. We did a lot more than just create aims for stakeholder engagement, but you're not going to sit here for 5 hours and listen to all of the amazing work that we've done. We're focusing on the stakeholder engagement piece here. So this is why we're including those priorities. You can see in green the integration of those types of stakeholder engagement, the different levels. You can see in orange the 3 major stakeholder groups that we are going to talk about. So that being said, I'm going to shift back over now to Mary and Kim, and they are going to go much more in detail about the work that they have done with those 3 stakeholder groups. You'll see, and we'll go through, there are some other artifacts and links in here that you are welcome to access and look through on your own time as well. Okay.
Okay, so as Renee mentioned, we have North Chicago works with several community partners that help drive our work in the post-secondary realm and in our on-track work for students. So I'm going to highlight a few of those partnerships, specifically related to post-secondary to start. So we all know historically that students have been pushed in the direction of college. College is the only route to go to earn livable wages, to be successful in a career. This mindset has definitely changed, as it should. And the support we are providing for our students needed to shift with it. So at North Chicago, we developed 3 tracks for our students. Those are enroll, enlist, employ. So the 3 E's. Starting with their freshman year, we're hoping to help our students explore whether they want to enroll in college, enlist into the military, or employ right away after graduation and go out into the workforce. Our post-secondary leadership team and our district as a whole has been working for the last several years to educate our students on their options, to provide exposure to different paths and opportunities, and actually give them the opportunities after they graduate. So to highlight a few of those and the stakeholders who are involved, and it's really interesting to kind of put this all together and see how many people are required to make things work. Looking at the North Chicago Public Education Foundation, which was founded in 2020 by our superintendent, Dr. John Price. The goal of the foundation is to provide full ride scholarships to all of our students who matriculate to the College of Lake County. And that's approximately, like right now, around 60 students who graduate from North Chicago and enroll at CLC. The scholarship started with 6 students in 2020, and now we have 25 students who will be receiving the scholarship after they graduate this year in 2024. They have to go through an application process, and then their applications are reviewed. They write essays, and the board, the executive board for the foundation, reviews the applications with recommendations from the school counseling team at the high school to determine who receives those scholarships. And what it entails essentially is, so they receive full tuition for 2 years. So up to $14,000 for tuition, books, and fees. They also receive a living stipend, which is $3,500 for the year, and they get it spanned out over the months of the year. They also receive a laptop, computer, and counseling support. So for the last 3 years, the support has been provided by our counseling team, where they're reaching out to students monthly, asking them how they're doing, any barriers that they're running into. But this is the first year that the foundation will have a dedicated director of student success working with them, working with the students from each cohort, which is really exciting. Some of the stakeholders that make this work possible include the Staines Family Foundation and, of course, the College of Lake County. The Staines Family Foundation has supported North Chicago since 2016, and I've worked really closely with their Director of Post-Secondary Initiatives with the Warhawk Lancer Scholarship. So she has really helped us to analyze data and trends. So we're looking at where are our students doing well, what subject areas seem to be more challenging, and what can we do to eliminate those barriers? What can we do to help our students be more successful in areas such as math, which is an area that we've noticed our students are struggling with at the college level. Also, the Staines Family Foundation has helped us to create a Warhawk to CLC transition team to address these barriers. So a lot of our students are first-generation college students, and it's challenging to navigate the financial aid process. It's challenging to enroll in your classes, figure out how to buy books, what are the resources that are available to you. So the CLC transition team has stakeholders from several different departments at the college to come together and talk about those barriers and how we can eliminate them. And this isn't only going to impact the students who are on scholarship. This is going to impact the North Chicago students as a whole when they're transferring to CLC. So the Warhawk Lancer Scholarship is a huge initiative for our school that we continue to grow. Another opportunity for our students is Lancer Summer Start and the Early Childhood Education Apprenticeship Program. which is also made possible through the Staines Family Foundation and CLC. Lancer Summer Start allows our students who graduate from the high school to take summer classes for free at the College of Lake County. So they are able to get their feet wet in the college process and get acclimated to CLC before they have to begin a full semester of classes in the fall of their freshman year. The Early Childhood Education Apprenticeship Program is, I like to think of it as an employ and enroll track. So the students are in a cohort at the College of Lake County. It's all expenses paid. They don't have to use financial aid. And then they're also working in the district at our Early Childhood Center, getting full benefits, getting a paycheck, and really getting into what it would mean for them to be working as an early childhood educator while they're in school. So great opportunity for our students. And then lastly, I wanted to talk about the Warhawk Summer Up program. And this is a program that's available to all of our students, grades 9 through 12. They are provided learning and work opportunities over the summer with various companies and organizations and colleges. This has grown from 3 community partners and 20 students in 2018 to 25 partners and more than 150 students. So they are given internship opportunities. They go to visit different colleges and stay overnight, stay in the dorms. They'll go on different adventures like hiking and camping, and all expenses are covered through this program. So this is just really highlighting all of the things that we are trying to do to provide our students with as many opportunities and exposures as they can to post-secondary options through the support of our community partners. So I talked a little bit about the Staines Family Foundation, and then I'll go into a little bit more detail about them, and then also OneGoal in our partnerships. So collaboration with these two groups is instrumental to the success of our work. Like I mentioned, the Staines Family Foundation has been in partnership with our school district since 2016. At the high school level, since I have been here, one of the biggest contributions that they have made is the help in fostering a relationship with the Network for College Success through the University of Chicago. In 2018, our high school established a freshman academy, which was implemented using that framework from the Network for College Success. And it focuses on giving our freshman students the supports that they need to be on track after they complete their freshman year, because statistically, it's been shown that if you're on track after your freshman year, you're 3 times more likely to graduate from high school. We scaled this up and expanded it to our sophomore, juniors, and seniors. So we started with the sophomore class. It's sophomore on pace. We established a definition for what that meant. We look at behavior, we look at attendance, we look at grades, and we're implementing tiered interventions for our students to give them the best opportunity to be successful. And what Staines really has been huge in is supporting us in compiling that data and providing it they provide that to us, and then we can disseminate and analyze it with our team. It really takes a huge lift off of the counselors, because as we all know in education, we try to take on so many different hats, and Staines has really been able to look at that data for us so that we can provide the most accurate data to look at with our staff. Our partnership and collaboration with OneGoal has also been key to our success, especially in moving our post-secondary work forward. Prior to OneGoal coming, I mean, there are so many things that we were doing as a school, but it was almost like we were doing too many things and there were too many people, but we weren't all working together. OneGoal has allowed us to focus and help us implement state initiatives that are all happening right now, implementing the PACE framework, and implementing the college and career pathway. Our our post-secondary leadership coach, Renee, has been instrumental in really integrating into our team. She has the level of expertise. She knows what the state is looking for. She's able to break that down for us so that we can really dig into the work and make sure that we're meeting all of the necessary requirements for us as a school and providing the best support for our students. She's also able to give us an outsider perspective to see, like, what are we already really doing and how can we integrate that into the PACE framework? What are some areas of focus, which we really realized this year that staff engagement was an important piece that we needed to scale up. So Kim will talk about that a little bit more, but we've really worked on engaging our staff in the work that we're doing. An additional piece of our partnership with OneGoal is our OneGoal seminar course, which we piloted this year. And actually, if Jeff is still on the call, he is the teacher at the high school that is teaching the course to our juniors. It's about 13 students. He's able to use the college and career curriculum provided by OneGoal. The students receive one-to-one support on post-secondary planning, and Jeff has the support of the OneGoal coaches throughout the process if he has any questions of how he can better implement the curriculum, how he can support our students. And we're hoping to scale that up next year. So we'll have the juniors now be taking it their senior year, and then we're hoping to have 3 more classes of juniors taking it next year. Partnering with these key stakeholders has allowed us to move forward and provide us with the expertise that we need for a robust post-secondary curriculum.
Right. Hi, everybody. So I'm going to be talking about the consultancy piece of the work that we're doing. And we're going to start with how we've worked with CLC and STAINS to increase our student enrollment and persistence. CLC is the #1 place that our students matriculate to after high school. So it was really important to us as a team that we create great foundations with them and have a strong partnership so we can support our students through their initial phases at CLC and until the end, when hopefully they have either a degree completed or they're finishing the certificates that they're starting with. So we want to see them not only start at CLC, but finish at CLC as well. So we have the transition team that Mary was discussing earlier with some of those key stakeholders in admissions, financial aid, advising. Who am I missing, Mary? Those are the big 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then counselors from our school. So the one thing a lot of other schools don't do is, and I talk about this all the time, they don't integrate their counselors enough into the work. And we are the ones that are working directly with the students most of the time. So it's given us and CLC a different perspective when we're working together because we have that one-on-one foundation with the students on this end. So the transition team meets monthly and they're talking about what's coming up. So right now we're at the end of the year and CLC is coming in and they're giving us information about their convocation, which is essentially like a freshman orientation for students who are going to start in the fall or the summer. And they give us information so we can plan things and work with our navigator, which I'll talk about in a second, to make sure that our students are attending that event, that they're bringing their parents to that event, that there's engagement by the full family, not just the student, and that we have data supporting the work that we're doing or the gaps that we have here at the high school, which we can then make some changes to our curriculum or find something to support our students a little better. And then we do the same for them. So if we're seeing gaps in the services that they're providing, we're having those conversations early with the direct stakeholders so that we can make changes and remove some of those barriers for our students as they're coming up. And STAINS was integral in creating that team. So the post-secondary director at STAINS actually approached both sides of that equation and brought us together to make a very nice cohesive group that works regularly to support our students. The data analysis piece, we are obviously data, everything about counseling and post-secondary is data driven, but it's really nice to get that information from both sides as well. So CLC will come into our transition team meetings and also some additional meetings throughout the year when we meet with them. And they are showing us the successes we're having or areas that we need to improve on, gaps where our students are needing additional supports, and we're doing the same with them. So we're really taking a look at numbers, very black and white information, and trying to figure out the best ways to serve our students through that information in that consultancy and collaborative space. And then something else that we're working on, which Renee has talked about, is our college and career pathway endorsements, which are a state initiative. And the second piece, besides just establishing that at the high school, is making sure that we have the required dual credit opportunities for those pathway endorsements. So we're starting our education pathway next fall. Our district board actually just approved the sophomore level class to start in the fall. We're still waiting on the state to approve the application completely, but we're one step ahead, so that's great. But the next step after that is to make sure that we have those dual credit courses available for our students in their junior and senior year. And actually, Sarah and Carolyn from CLC are on this call, are my P20, P20 Partnership Department liaisons. I work with them directly at CLC to initiate those dual credit pieces. So we haven't talked yet, guys. I was going to approach you about this. We have to we have to do this next. But they have been helping me establish dual credit programming already that is on their campus for our students. So we meet through a dual credit advisory, which is on the involved side over here, that Dr. Sarah Stashkew has established, which is her team plus all of the high school partners that have dual credit programs in Lake County. So we're meeting once a month for a lot of reasons, to stay on top of all of the initiatives that the state has around dual credit, to find ways to incorporate more dual credit opportunities for our students across the county, to see if we can get them in the high schools or if we're going to be on their campus, or to include additional partners, and to talk through what's going on with all of our schools and programming. So it's involving everybody in the county, not just North Chicago High School and CLC. It's a larger partnership group, which is really helpful in the dual credit process. And we've learned a lot about their programming. So they bring in their program chairs, their department chairs, to talk about the initial programming or different programs that they offer at the college, so that we can see if dual credit opportunities are feasible, advisable, helpful for our students, so we can get the students into some of those programs earlier if that's where they hope to go. Something else with the involvement piece, we do have a CLC navigator, which is very unique, as far as I know, to the College of Lake County. They actually established this role. They used to work more on the admissions side, but now it's kind of a mixed combination of admissions and advising. And our navigator is in-house. So she is a CLC employee who is at our high school every day, 4 days a week. One day she's at CLC, but she works with our students whenever they really want to. She helps me with dual credit things, getting them enrolled in classes, but she's also working very closely with our senior class. So this year we made some changes and we involved her more in our fall advising. So when I went to go meet with senior students to talk about their on-track rates, what they need to do to graduate this fall, she came with me and was also talking with them one-on-one about CLC, if that's where they were planning to go, and getting that process rolling for them so they could complete the application, know what they needed to do for placement testing if they needed it, getting their paperwork turned in early. And as you can see, the impact on the bottom, her advising actually went up over 50% from last year to this year, just for making that change in how we work together in advisement. So Araceli is fantastic. She also does the first semester advising for students. So once they enroll at CLC or choose to enroll at CLC, she helps them pick their classes for the first semester so they're ready to go. And she organizes all the convocation, which we're involved in as well as they are. We also started the CLC 120 pilot this spring. That is a required class for any new students at the college who are planning to graduate from any program that's over 30 credit hours at the College of Lake County. So it's a student success course. We decided to make it a dual credit class this year in the spring for any students who are planning to attend CLC in the summer or fall. So they can take that 2 credit course, and because we were finding that it kind of threw them off if they only wanted 12 credits to be full-time in the fall. If you take that 2 credit class, you end up having to take 5 classes in order to make that 12 credits. So we're like, we're going to offer the 2 credit class and see how they do. It's very self-reflective course. So that's another way Araceli has been involved in our school. She's actually the instructor for that class, and she teaches it our first period. So students that had an early or late start, a lot of them dropped it to take it 2 days a week, and they're going to get their dual credit. For most of our students, that is their first dual credit opportunity. They can see how they feel about the college course. They have more interaction with Araceli, our navigator, so they're more comfortable approaching her on a regular basis. And we're finding really great success with that this semester. And then our dual credit expansion that's happening, which is part of the CCPE, but also not. We've always had a dual credit program to some extent, and now we're trying to grow that program. We want more students to have access to those courses. So we're trying to bring more classes to our students in our building. Right now, all of our students are physically going to the College of Lake County to take classes, so they're very involved with our dual credit students in that way. But bringing it to the school brings a lot of pros and just a couple of cons. Pros being that more students have access to it, especially the students who don't want to leave the building the second half of the day, because right now that's a requirement of our program, and some of our students really don't want to do that. So we're hoping to bring more of those classes in our building with our teachers. And then some of the cons, however, are really that it does not give them the same college experience that they get early when they're physically on the campuses at the College of Lake County. So that's definitely a mindset shift for our students when they're on those campuses and they get to see what it's like to be a student every day. So I see that as a con right now. I'll tell you more next year once we actually get a couple of the classes started in the fall and see how they do. And then we are involved with the Lake County Tech Campus very closely. So they offer a lot of our dual credit options for students going into technical programming. They have 22 programs that are offered to all of the students in Lake County, again, not just us. And it gives another level or a different experience, I should say, to the students who want to get some dual credit, but don't want to necessarily go in a fully academic course. They are more hands-on. They get involved in more community partnerships. They have more of an internship-like experience with a lot of those classes, and they are full year for any students who are hoping to do that. And then the counseling team and our administrative team are often over there for meetings to learn more about their programming and their partnerships and how they're getting additional experiences for our students in the community. So overall impact, we talked about Araceli's increased advising capacity, but Renee had also showed you the dual credit and the remediation dashboards, which she linked here. So I just wanted to show those again in case you wanted to go back and take a look, not just at our school, but your schools as well.
Yeah, and so we're actually going to skip over that part real quick because we are coming up on time here and wanted to give some additional time for any questions, which I see a couple in the chat already. I did just want to touch on, so you will have access to this slide deck and you can go through these links and take a look at overall dual credit enrollment at North Chicago has increased. Wanted to just touch really quickly on what we have here. You can come back and take a look at it after the presentation today. But the engagement piece with the faculty at the very beginning levels of that inform and consult level, these links here will show some the process that the post-secondary leadership team went through to launch the work to the faculty. And it was a really, really great, meaty experience, lots of information exchanged on both ends. So you can see how the team went about that, engaging them in games and helping them learn vocabulary. And then you also have a faculty worksheet here that shows the information that the post-secondary leadership team gained by asking them to kind of align the work that they're doing and show the team, where are you doing post-secondary work in your classes? Where are you touching on community service experiences and employment? So take a moment on your own time and you can click through these. Feel free to utilize any of this for your own work. And then Mary and Kim, if you could just overall summarize what we're kind of looking at the horizon, and we'll wrap up here and leave the last 5 minutes for questions.
The focuses for school year 25, I think the biggest things are to continue building faculty capacity through professional development, continuously having conversations. So this is in everyday conversations with our faculty and staff, and then training on Zello, which is our college and career readiness platform. So teachers know that they can look and see students' post-secondary plans, any interest inventories that they've completed. We want to engage families. And I think that that's something that we are going to be working on with Renee. How are we going to do that and what will that look like? So that is to be determined, but we know that we need to engage our families in this work as well.
Fantastic. Thank you. Any final thoughts, Kim, from you on the work to come?
We definitely have a strong focus on those CCPEs, so the career pathway endorsements that the state is requiring. So we're working on that diligently to try and get everything set up over the timeline that's required. So that's something that we're planning, and we're focusing, next year will be education, but then healthcare and IT are the other two pathways that we're hoping to establish once we get that going. And we are going to be working with the OneGoal expansion for the junior and senior seminars, getting our curriculum revised around that, and then also doing better preparation with our seminar teachers to ensure that their curriculum is aligned and that all of our students are getting the same information.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So at that, we're going to ask you to come back around to your original question, but due to time, I will actually skip that part and let you know that we do have our contact information if you would like to connect with any of us on any of what you heard here today. But if anyone wants to either drop a question in the chat or come off mute, I will let you know, Kim and Mary, we did get a great question from Juan Jose about let me see here, regarding data analysis and post-secondary transition. Since CLC is the biggest post-secondary transition partner, which is the #1 institution that North Chicago students enroll, how are you tackling transitional math and transitional English? Are all students placed in either of those courses?
Great question, Juan.
Mm-hmm.
So we do not have the transitional English yet. Honestly, even when we've talked to CLC, they're really not sure how to advise around the transitional English piece. So we're waiting for more information to get that started. But the transitional math we've had, at least since Mary and I have been at the high school, it's been a course here. We typically only have one section of it, honestly, because we are trying to find the students who are planning to matriculate to CLC. And we do check to see where their test scores are before we just enroll them in that class. So we want to make sure that if they're going to CLC, they know that that's an option and that we really encourage them to take the transitional math course, trying to get them to continue on with their math sequence and be prepared, even if it's to get them into just the gen ed math classes that they might need. But for students who are looking at those STEM fields who need higher level math, we can at least get them to the point where they're ready to take the placement testing and hopefully perform better on the exams, which is something that we're working on in the whole school for our students, math readiness for college, for post-secondary. So transitional math, it's still a hard sell, but we really do try to work with them and get them into the course.
Great, thank you for that. Well, we have one more question in the chat that we'll touch on and then wrap up. If you are, we're at 11 o'clock, so if you have to jump off, please feel free. But the question is, some students, talking with the superintendent of regeneration schools in Chicago, some students have never stepped on any college campus before. Do you have the data to show whether students who are in high school exposed to dual credit classes or CLC campus, that is contributing to their persistence, having that exposure early on?
We do have data around that, and it actually came from Staines. So they have an amazing data director who finds the time to pull all that information for us and put it together because, you know, we have a million things going on at the high school. So since COVID, it's been a little bit harder because we're kind of rebuilding the program. It dropped quite a bit when we went into lockdown. So we're working on everything. I can ask for the actual shareable file if anybody wants to see it and see if we can show you that. But there has been positive correlation between our students who take dual credit courses and finishing or completing their program of study at CLC, if that's where they're planning to go.
Great, thank you. And we are at time. So Edith, I don't know if you want to jump on and talk
Yes.
about the next opportunity.
Yes, I want to make sure that everyone is aware of our next webinar, which is next Monday on the AI Ready Workforce. It's on our website. Please join us. And I want to say a big thank you to our presenters. Really appreciate the tools that you provided and the very practical examples of how others can take this information and use it in their districts. So have a great day, everyone, and thanks again for joining us.